Hey everyone, today we are diving into an idea that was so powerful, it literally held a civilization together for thousands of years. We're talking about a concept that wrapped up morality, politics, and the very fabric of the universe into one single package. So just imagine for a second, what if the universe didn't run on things like gravity or thermodynamics? What if it ran on truth and justice? What if telling a lie could literally make a star flicker out? Now, for us, that's kind of a fun thought experiment, but for the ancient Egyptians, this was basically how they saw reality. To really get this, we've got to go way, way back, long before a lot of the religious and legal systems that are familiar to us today. We're heading to ancient Egypt, a civilization that kept its core identity for over 3,000 years. I mean, just pause and think about that. 3 millennia. That is an incredible, almost unbelievable amount of stability. And it wasn't just armies or a complex bureaucracy holding it all together. Nope, it was this single powerful idea. The universe has a natural order, and one person, the divine king, was in charge of keeping it all in balance. Okay, so let's get into the weeds of this organizing principle. It had a name, and that name was Ma'at. But here's the thing, Ma'at wasn't some god you prayed to. It was something much, much deeper. You can think of it like the universe's operating system. Seriously, it's the source code that lets everything work. The sun rising, the Nile flooding, society functioning. And the alternative? It wasn't just evil, it was chaos. It was a total system crash, the blue screen of death for reality itself. It was the state of nothingness that was always, always trying to creep back in. And this cosmic operating system, it was made up of a few key applications, you could say. Truth, balance, justice, harmony, and right order. And these weren't just, nice suggestions for how people should behave. To the Egyptians, these were the actual principles holding reality together. A society without justice wasn't just unfair, it was literally out of sync with the entire cosmos. All right, so if Ma'at is the cosmic operating system, then who's the system administrator? Who has the divine password to keep the whole thing from crashing? Well, in Egypt, that massive responsibility fell on the shoulders of one person, the pharaoh. And you gotta understand, in Egypt, the pharaoh wasn't just a king who also happened to be the head of the church. No, you couldn't separate the two. His political power came directly from his unique religious job. He was the bridge, the one and only connection between the world of the gods and the world of us mere mortals. His job wasn't just to rule people, it was to keep the entire universe running on schedule. So it all flowed downwards, kind of like a cosmic pyramid scheme. At the very top, you have the gods. They create and basically are this perfect order, Ma'at. Then in the middle, you've got the pharaoh. Every law he passes, every ritual he performs is an act of cosmic maintenance. And when he does his job right, what happens? That stability, that order, it flows down to everybody else as good harvest, peace, and prosperity. So following the law wasn't just your civic duty, it was your cosmic duty. But Ma'at wasn't just some big idea for the king to worry about. Oh no, this principle of cosmic order trickled all the way down into the life of every single person. And it didn't stop when you died. In fact, death is when your personal relationship with Ma'at got its final exam. This is, hands down, one of the most powerful and lasting images to come out of the ancient world. The idea that after you die, your heart, which they saw as the home of your conscience, your thoughts, your deeds, would be placed on a giant scale and weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the symbol of absolute truth. Just picture it. On one side of the scale, your heart. On the other, that single, weightless feather of truth. If your heart was light, if it wasn't weighed down by lies and injustice and chaos, then you were justified. You were granted eternal life. But if your heart was heavy with all that disorder, you weren't sent to hell. It was worse. You were devoured by a demon and you were annihilated. You just stopped existing. I mean, the stakes just could not have been higher. And this is so important. This idea that our life here on Earth is basically a moral test and the outcome has eternal consequences, that's a cornerstone of so many major religions today, right? Well, they didn't invent it. The Egyptians laid down the basic framework for this thousands of years earlier. So, the crucial question is, what happened to this incredibly powerful idea that was so centered on a king? Well, it didn't just disappear. A framework this effective doesn't get thrown out. It gets an upgrade. It gets transformed. And here is the fundamental shift. This is the whole ballgame. In Egypt, the anchor point for cosmic order was a person, the divine king. Later, monotheistic traditions took that same exact structure, but they swapped out the anchor. The authority was no longer in a person, it was in a text, a divine law, a covenant. So obedience shifted from a divine ruler to a divine rulebook. But the underlying logic was exactly the same. Follow the divine system, or you risk total chaos.
So when you look back, Egypt's real, lasting legacy isn't just pyramids and mummies. It's these foundational concepts. They were the ones who first mashed up morality with the physics of the universe. They were the ones who tied political power to a divine mandate. They bound social order to cosmic order. And they framed our entire existence as one big moral test. These ideas were just too powerful to ever really go away. They just got reinterpreted.
And that's really the core of it all. This need for some kind of central principle to keep chaos from winning is a deeply, deeply human idea. The Egyptians just gave it one of its earliest and most powerful forms. The details change over time. It goes from a person to a text, but the blueprint, that stays. Which leaves us with a pretty interesting question, doesn't it? The Egyptians anchored the reality to a divine king. Later traditions anchored it to a divine text. So in our world, today, what's our anchor? What's the fundamental principle we believe is holding our reality together? Thanks for tuning in.